Scott. How are you?
Hey.
See, you wrote it. It's your last name.
That's all right. All right, I'm close. I'm impressed. What's new and exciting?
What's new and exciting?
Yeah.
There's a lot more resources being put into SBIR around here. That's new and exciting.
Yeah, it caught my attention. I saw it last night and I'm like, oh, I can squeeze that in. But I'll doing it every other time.
I don't think you had a ticket for now. T-Bob.
What am I doing? All right, Cara, it's noon now. So I'm going to start talking. Hello, everyone. Welcome. There's lunch back there, so go ahead and help yourselves. I'm Maggie Sailing. I'm the Chief of Staff for StartUpNV. Lunch and Learn is something we do every month, and we're really pleased to bring you this topic of SBIR and STTR grants. It's a non-dilutive form of funding, and while you do have to work at it, it takes some time. It is a really great program because there's not just phase one, there's phase two as well. So I'm happy to introduce Cara Baird O'Hare, who is our speaker today. She is the program manager for federal grants for the University of Reno.
Thank you.
Welcome, Cara.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. So we're going to talk about SBIRs and STTR, so Small Business Innovation Research Grants and Small Business Technology Transfer Research Grants. These are grant opportunities that are for commercializing your technology. We'll dive into what that means. So the overall objective of SBIRs and STTRs is to help businesses that are working on something that is high tech, high risk, something that will require a lot of funding in order to turn it into a product. You know, it's not something that you can approach an investor about yet because it's too early stage, but you see that it has a lot of potential. So this program was put in place by the federal government, and it's managed by the Small Business Administration, various agencies, about 11 agencies, such as NASA, NSF. They all are a part of this program. And the overall goal is to expand research and development capabilities, to extend that to startups. It's really to help our communities be able to do this research and development and these high-tech companies and high-tech technologies and turn them into something. A lot of the time you'll see people who are working on a really cool concept, but they don't have the money, but you know, it's too early to talk to an investor, and investor's like, I don't know what the heck that is. It's just crazy. This is where this money comes in. You want to use it to stimulate technology innovation. So why should you care about SBIRs and STTRs? Traditionally, STEM businesses don't receive a lot of funds unless it is very obvious what you're trying to do. You have a consumer product, consumer good, you can define what your product is. But SBIRs and STTRs are really great if you are working on something that is really just a research concept at this point. You're like, if I can prove this, if I can develop my prototype in this way, it has potential. That would be a great place to be if you want to be applying for an SBIR or STTR. So what does this look like? So here's an example of a company that is, so they developed this solar panel glass. And it's something that took a long time. It took a lot of money. It took a lot of R&D dollars in order to take it forward. You know, and at the stage of development that they were at in 2010, they couldn't really talk to an investor or really get a loan for something like this because it's just research at that point. Like, you know, we have this vision. We think we can turn it into something cool. We can really have a cool green technology. We can install it in all these buildings, but we still need to prove it out. We still need X amount of dollars. We need a lot of time. So for them, an SBIR was a great way to turn this into a product. So they received 2 phase 1 SBIR awards from the NSF and 1 phase 2 awards. We'll talk about what phase 1s and phase 2s are, but they're just different stages of funding and development. So the end of this timeline is kind of small, but in 2010, they invented the technology. By 2016, they had their first window prototype. And if you check them out today, you'll see that they are selling product now. So, you know, they went from research concept, something kind of arbitrary, and they turned it into an actual product that they're selling in the market. And that was all done with non-dilutive capital money. They didn't have to give up any of their company to do this. They didn't have to take a loan out to do this, but they got to turn it into something that actually is a real product now. Here's another one, is the Naviator. It's a dual air-water drone. This was developed at a university. And it was funded through the Navy. So they got a couple of SBIR and STTRs through the Navy. So if you're working on something and you're like, oh, the government could really use this, or, you know, the Navy could really use this, if only they would answer my calls, you know, this is actually a great way to start working with them. So the Navy, Health and Human Services, DHS, all of these guys are a part of the SBIR STTR program. They've got all these different programs you can apply for that you can develop this technology. They can use it, but then not only will the Navy and these other agencies use it, but you can use it for other recreational, military, commercial uses. So you can use this for other stuff. And this is really cool because they're using it for search and rescues, and they can dive underwater, they can see things, they can scope it out, and it's saving lives, and it's just really fascinating. And that was funded, again, through an SBIR. Now, this one is my personal favorite, the first off-world additive manufacturing. How awesome is that? So these guys got 24 SBIR awards. So they got a lot of money from NASA to develop this. So, you know, you're in the International Space Station, you need something made. And they have this additive manufacturing. It's kind of like a 3D printer for their really high-tech specialized stuff that they develop up there. So again, if you want to get your stuff into space or into the hands of these agencies, this is a really great place to start. And really, they will pay for it, and they don't want your intellectual property rights to it. So you develop it, it's yours, but they get to use it too. So this is really, really some cool examples. So which agencies fund both SBIRs and STTRs? We'll go over a longer list later, but So SBIRs and STTRs have a lot of overlap in their agencies. It's a total of 11, but there are 5 that will do both, which are these here. So Defense, Energy, Health and Human Services, NASA, and the National Science Foundation. These ones do SBIRs only. Now, traditionally, SBIR programs actually have more money than STTRs. I would encourage you not to just pick the agency based on how much money they have, because there's a lot of different programs that they offer and different things that they're looking at. So are they loans? This is a very common question because it's supported by the SBA. People default to thinking that this is an SBA loan, or I have to pay it back, or okay, like what are the strings that are really attached to this? Really, this is not a loan. This is really truly non-dilutive capital. It's money that they want to give you to develop your technology into a product. And the interesting and great thing is too, is the IP and data rights protection. Your IP is your IP. So whatever you have gone into this project with, that is your IP and you own that. The federal government is going to want to have the ability to use it, but at the end of the day, it's still yours. And you can still turn it into your own product, you can still sell it. I know that's a big concern for a lot of people. And we can talk about also working with universities and how that IP arrangement is set up too. And then phase 3 awards. So phase 3 is interesting because it sort of is, it does and doesn't exist. So SBIR and STTR funds phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 is not an official phase and they don't actually pay for it, but it's more like you've established a relationship with an agency through phase 1 and phase 2, and they've paid you to do this, you've developed it. And then phase 3 is they find money from somewhere else to continue that relationship. So you can extend that relationship with NASA if you really like working with them. And like you could be like the additive manufacturing company, you can have like 24 of these awards and you can just extend and expand on that. Who shouldn't get an SBIR or STTR? So these are really not for you if you need it to pay your staff or a website or marketing. Truly, this is R&D, and you have to have a commercial objective at the end of the day. So really, that's what they're trying to help you with. So this is it's a gap fund. So it's money that you can apply for because you couldn't get money from traditional sources, right? Like an investor won't talk to you. It's not really ready for all of the other stuff, but you have something that's really interesting and really cool and you think it could move forward. You just, this is the program that would help you with that. So that's really important. So if you have something that you think you're like, oh crap, it falls into this category, I don't qualify, really actually brainstorm about what you have. Can you pivot so that you do have a technology that complements what you're already working on? And can you use the funds to build something like a software or something that goes along with what you're doing that would qualify? So it's not your entire business, but think of the components of what your business offering is. And can it be complemented by this program? So how much funding do I get? So this is a great breakdown of fiscal year 20 that will show you where all of the money is. You'll see a huge chunk of this is the Department of Defense. For the state of Nevada, actually, this mirrors it pretty well. So 80% of the funds that we received as a state came from the DoD. But that doesn't mean that that's all we get. That just means that they have a bigger piece of the pie. But there's these other programs. Again, I would encourage you not to pick the agency based on how much money they have available. There's a lot of other factors to consider, such as grants and contracts. So you'll notice this is color coded. So everything in red is grants, everything in blue is contracts. So I'm not going to go over in detail what grants and contracts are today, but I'll tell you specifically that grants are more of a general concept, a general direction, help people in the IoT space or, establish this program to help this, it's really just very general and arbitrary. Contracts are more like what you see through NASA, and they're like, build me a better battery, build me something that I can use on this rocket, use something that will help my technology be better. And it's very specific. So if you're not really sure what it is that you want to do, look at grants because it's a little bit more fluffy, or contracts can inspire you to figure out what you want to build. So phase ones and phase twos. So everybody in this room right now, we are all doing a phase zero program. This is a phase zero support going through this presentation. That just means that we are looking. We are going to look at all these resources. We haven't officially applied for anything yet. So that's all your pre-proposal, looking at it, just assessing it. So it's all phase zero support. So if you see phase zero, we can help you. You all will qualify in this room right now. So DOD, there's a program through the DOE, Department of Energy, and NIH. They both have phase zero programs that will help you with your application and walk you through the whole thing. And anybody who wants to apply for it, if you are interested in those agencies, you qualify for phase zero resources. Phase one is your concept. You get about $150,000 to develop your concept. It's, feasibility studies really. And it's about 6 to 12 months. Phase two is anything that can turn this concept into a product. So prototypes, demonstrations, and you can get multiple of these awards. So if you didn't accomplish what you needed to accomplish, you can get follow on phase two, follow on phase one. And you can sort of build these awards around the different components of your technology. Like some of those ones I gave, the examples I gave earlier, you get 12, you get 24 of these awards. They're all just for different components of what you're trying to accomplish.
Are you having to show progress?
Yes, so you have to do progress reports. You have to demonstrate, this is the work that I've done, especially if you're applying for follow-on fundings. There's these other things called direct to phase two. So if you've already established the concept, you spent your own money, you've been working in your garage, you've already done it, and you're like, I don't want to waste 6 to 12 months. I've already done it. There's this thing called direct to phase two. And all you have to do is show them, look at all of the work I've already done. Just let me skip ahead in line. And you can do that. So you can get prototype funding.
What do you need to have done to get to phase zero, like to apply for that?
Phase zero, you guys apply, you qualify right now.
Really, like I have an idea in my head.
Well, phase zero is really more of a pre-proposal. So it's not like there's no money in phase zero. This is just more of a
Help with the
I'll help you with the application. There are phase zero resources. So again, look at the Department of Energy's phase zero program. And then NIH has an AAP program, which is an applicant assistance program. That's all phase zero support. And they can help you determine, do I qualify? What are all the components? Do I really have the time to do this? There's a lot of stuff that needs to be figured out. And I think it's really important when we talk about phase zero, because if you don't just jump into phase one, it's like, oh, okay, this is a lot of information. I don't think I could do this all in a short time frame. And then people don't do it and then they fail. So definitely take your time, look at phase zero resources, see what exists. And then before you do that, you can apply for phase one.
And you have resources today on where we can look to find those resources?
So the Sage program that I run, we are revamping our whole website to have a whole library of resources that are going to contain all of your phase zero support. We offer phase zero support. StartUpNV offers phase zero support. So all of us are able to help you with this. And then again, phase three is, again, it's sort of like a non-existent. We're going to start answering questions at the end, you guys.
Sorry.
It's okay. But let me finish this one. I'll take your question. So phase three is, more of, again, I've been working with NASA. They have given me millions and millions of dollars. I've completed my phase two, I'm ready to sell it. Let's do this. So you can find other funds. NASA can help you find other funds to extend that relationship with them. But it's not technically SBIR, STTR. They call it phase three, so that it's very clear that it's the same like tech development plan, but technically different.
For the phase two, is the time from application to award any faster? And also, when you do the phase two approach, my first question is the time from application to award. Is that any faster than going from phase one?
They all review it all at the same time. These agencies are funny because they have it federally mandated that they're supposed to tell you within 90 days that you've been awarded, but only 3 of them listen to that. I think NSF gives you the answer in 200 days. So it's really up to the agency. It depends on how many applications they've received. You know, we try to standardize these things. Obviously, the federal government tried and they couldn't do it. So yeah, there's not like a fast track. They call it the fast track. You know, sometimes they'll call direct to phase 2 fast track. Well, actually, there's direct to phase 2, but then there's the fast track program, which I think is only through the NIH, that you can apply for phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time. So technically, in the long run, you are saving time because you're not applying twice, but you're still only going to find out 90 to 200 days later. So
Is the applicant reward rate for phase 2, is that higher than like starting from phase 1?
it is,
So the
yeah.
odds of getting a grant are greater if you approach it.
Technically, yeah, phase 2. And we'll talk about the actual award rates later. So let's talk about am I going in the right direction? Yes, okay, so STTRs. So we talked a little bit about these agencies already. STTR is technically a smaller program than the SBIR program, which means that they have less money. But the main difference is STTRs, you work with the university or a different research institution. And really the main difference, if there's anything you guys take out of this today, these acronyms are, I mean, I just keep saying them over and over again, but really the main difference is how the budget is allocated. So an SBIR is you're a small business applicant. The only people who can apply for this are small businesses. So, you know, if you work with a university and they say, oh, I'm the applicant, they're not. So it's always a small business, is always the applicant. So if you do an SBIR and you're like, no, I have everything in-house, I can do this myself, then do an SBIR. If you're like, I have one other partner I want to work with, there's this manufacturing facility that can help me get the information I need. Again, SBIR, because you can do a subcontract with them. It's optional, and they can get up to 33% of the budget. But if you're working on something and you really need lab resources and lab space, we've got some great stuff at UNR through our NCAR, which is our Nevada Center for Applied Research. Well, obviously the Innovation Center too, we've got some resources. So if you want to work with the university and you need their facilities, then an STTR would actually be better for you. So this third chunk is kind of optional. So I mean, you can kind of give it back to your small business. But you can bring in, for example, your manufacturing partner or something from your SBIR can be your third partner, your third party for an STTR. So just in a nutshell, SBIR programs tend to have more money, but STTRs, you have the ability to work with universities and people who, well, technically it's research institutions, so people who have these facilities that you have access to. So which is better? It really depends. I know that's not really an answer, but it depends on what you're looking for, right? Am I trying to do a contract or a grant? What type of agency offers the programs that will really apply to what I'm working on? How much money do I need? Do they have a direct to phase 2 program? And again, there's 11 agencies who do this, so they're all just a little bit different. Everything I'm going over today is what they all have in common, but all of them have little nuances and things that are a little bit different. So definitely investigate, research each of your agencies specifically. Yes.
Do you find that participating in a CRADA gives you any edge in applying for SBIR or STTR?
With CRADAs or CRADAs, which are they're essentially material transfer agreements between the federal government and
There's no funding. They don't provide funding.
But they don't provide
will
funding.
provide resources.
Right. I haven't seen any statistics to say with CRADAs that they will, improve it. But I do have to say one of the components of an application is that you know who your partners are. You have evidence of a commercial plan by talking to your customers and your partners. So I mean, having a CRADA in place, I don't think it would hurt, but I definitely don't think it's necessary. I don't think you need to have an existing agreement in place with these companies in order to increase your ability to get funding.
The 5 agencies that have both SBIR and STTR, are they allowed to divvy up their lump sum the way that they want, or are they restricted in so much has to go to STTR and the rest has to go to SBIR?
They have different funds for each, and that goes, if we go back to our wheel, then you'll see this is how much they have for each of these programs.
Okay, so it is delineated for the different programs.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to run out of money in a STTR program because it was all allocated to SBIR. They do have their own pockets. Okay, how do we actually apply for this? So grants can be daunting and intimidating and complicated. And I don't think that they are as complicated as they seem a lot more complicated than they really are. And again, phase 0 support resources is something to look at to make this easier. So the main thing is eligibility. Do you guys qualify? So you have to be a US owned business. You have to be less than 500 people, traditionally for profit, and again, focusing on R&D. So if you yourself don't qualify, you can always find a partner that does qualify. Some people who are maybe not citizens, they can have, that doesn't mean you can't apply, that just means that the PI on your grant needs to be actually the applicant. So that's eligibility. And then actually applying for this, this is an amazing website. So anything on SBIR.gov, I'm going to reference this website a lot, but check out the SBIR topic search. So this will show you not just everything that's open, but everything that has recently closed, which I think is actually more valuable than everything, because you can see, in the last couple of years, what is NASA funded? What's NASA's direction? What are they going in? So look at the closed solicitations. And this is really cool because you can export all of this. So if you're interested in data and you want to know, historically, how well have we been doing as a state, all of that information, everything is contained on SBIR.gov. So you can see that. You can also find on their website actual abstracts from people who have been awarded. So you can get even more information on that, how much money we've gotten as a state, stuff like that.
Back to eligibility, do you find that there's advantage if you have certifications like AA, WASB, HubZone?
Well, HubZone, I guess they're interested in more people applying who are from a HubZone or who are a HubZone business or opportunity zones, which tend to overlap a lot, and other underserved businesses. But I don't know if that actually gives you an edge. They want more applicants, but I don't know if there's I don't think there's a set aside, for people who are HubZone, for example. And Hub is a historically underutilized business zone. So traditionally, it's all subdivided all in different ways. So if you guys want to look at the Hub Zone map for Reno or for Nevada, it's a difference between actually this street and then 2 streets over. We're in a Hub Zone right now, and then 2 streets over. Yeah, and then 2 streets over, you're no longer in a Hub Zone. So
I'm in a HubZone, so.
Yeah, so there's some.
I'm way out there. I'm not 2 streets over yet.
Yeah. So it's a whole map, and definitely take a look at that, especially if you don't know what a hub zone is, you don't know if you qualify. Definitely look at that, because I think SBIRs and STTRs are one thing, but hub zones specifically, you're supposed to get a certain set aside amount from federal government programs to fund your program. So yeah, that's the main advantage.
No, are they treating opportunity zones and hub zones the same?
No, they just tend to have a lot of the same geographical overlap.
Yeah, that's good to know there's some here, because I'm way out there, but if I want additional resources, it's good to know that I can place it into a civilized area.
Oh, well, yeah, and it really is where your business is headquartered. So
Yeah, exactly.
a lot of, so if you're an innovation center business and you don't have a real office yet, and you're just sort of have a desk, a hot desk at the innovation center, and you have a space, anybody who is registered here, this is your headquarters, you just have to register as HubZone, and then you have HubZone money so that you can call on. So definitely something to look into if you guys don't know what that is. Why should you try? It's free money, non-dilutive capital. You have to work really hard to get it. But it's, it's like if you're back and you're trying to apply for grants to get into college, it's the same thing. You gotta work hard. So, but yeah, it's money to do this, to work on this. So if I haven't convinced you yet, that's the main thing, is free money. Is there a form you complete? So I know my slide says no, but it's technically a lot of information, a lot of forms to complete. So it's not like, an application, I fill it out and here you go. It's more of this is a whole proposal of who I am. And we'll talk about the actual components of it, but there are 11 agencies. The solicitations are open for about 10 weeks at a time. They go quick. So, figure out what you want to apply for before they open, and then work and actually apply for them.
10 weeks at a time, how many times?
We'll go over that, but it's a rolling basis. It depends on the agency. There's a whole calendar, so that's my favorite website. I have it bookmarked. Definitely check that one out because it's a nice graphic of when things are opening. So this is essentially how you do it. So you learn more about the program on SBIR.gov. Download the solicitation. It's a package of information. It tells you all of the evaluation criteria, what components do I need to include in my application, things like that. And then find local assistance. So I represent the Sage program here, which can help with all of this. But if you go somewhere else, or you're traveling somewhere else, this is a national program. I mean, it's federal really, but there are websites. So I have a link to this in later slides. But you can look up all of the people and all the programs that currently exist in other states that can help you with your application. So this is all of this is phase 0 support. Here's my pretty graphic. So this is a screenshot directly off of this website, SBIR.gov solicitations. So this is at the top of the page, and then underneath it, they have a whole list of everything that's open now and going to be open soon. So you'll notice some things are topic release and some things are pre-release. So topic release is they will announce the topics before they actually open the solicitations. So that gives you kind of a heads up. What sort of things will they be looking for? So it's not, it's released now. I have 10 weeks and the countdown starts now. You have a little bit of time, a few weeks in advance for some of these guys to get the topics ahead of time so you know what it is that they are going to fund. And then you have, again, the pre-release is sort of the same thing. They're telling you this is coming up in a few weeks, get ready. Usually when they tell you that, then they'll also say, these are all the webinars. So check out our webinars. They want you guys to get this money. So they have all of these trainings and webinars and information. The program managers for each of these agencies are really easy to contact. You would think they wouldn't be, but they are really easy to get a hold of. And they can give you all of the information you need to make sure you have a successful proposal. So writing a proposal. So this is the hard part. It can take 150 hours. It can take weeks. But before you get started, do you have everything you need to apply? The main thing is, do you know what the commercial application is for the research you want to do? They don't want to fund research for research's sake. Do I know who my customers are? Do I have evidence that they're my customers? Have I talked to them before? How do I know that this is my path to the market? And if I work on this concept and I develop this research in this certain way, then that's the ticket to getting it into being a product. If you know what that stuff is, you've got an innovative concept, you figured out your commercial plan, you developed your business case, you've done the work that you need to do, then you qualify. There's other things on this slide too. Of course, your financial management, your time management. Again, phase 0 resources and phase 0 support programs can help you with all of this. Required registrations. This is something that is, it blindsides a lot of people. And you think you don't need it. It's like, I got the important work to do. I've got my 150 hours. I have to work on my proposal. But the required registrations will trip you up because it can take weeks to get your SAMs or your DUNS number. So sometimes people will wait until the very last minute. They're like, okay, great. I've written my proposal. I've gotten my letters of support. I've got everything I need. And it's due in 2 days. Great, I finished ahead of time. It's like, but if you don't have your DUNS number now, you have to wait 3 weeks to get it. Now you're late. So do this first. All agencies require at least these 3, but we put together this great chart that will show you all of the other databases and registrations you have to be in for these specific agencies. So you'll notice the first 3 are the main 3, but then there are these other ones that are required for different agencies. NSF obviously likes to make you work. They're also the hardest to get money from, but if you can get their money, it's a great thing. So it's like a big old stamp of approval if you get NSF to fund it. So I'm going to give you guys my slides at the end of all this so you can have this chart and know what all of these registrations are. But again, if anything, once you have committed and you've decided I'm going to do this, just do this first. Then write your proposal so that you've got it done. You've done it. You've got any of your numbers and registrations you have completed or finished. Elements of an application. So a technical proposal. So if you've ever written a grant, this is kind of general stuff, but this is what they require in all of these. One thing to pay attention to is each of the agencies will have different length requirements for your technical proposal or different length requirements for your commercial proposal. So, I think NSF is like, they only want like a 2-page commercial plan, but others will want a 30-page commercial plan. So some proposals could be like, 300 pages, though. Maybe not that long, but they could be pretty long. So a technical proposal, you need to have a qualified principal investigator, also known as the PI. PI is the person that applies for the grant. They're responsible for everything in the grant. They track the metrics. They're your point person. So do they qualify? Can we do this? And those qualifications are based on eligibility. So are they out of business? It's less than 500 people, all that stuff. Resumes. They want to make sure that the people who are doing the work are qualified to do the work. So they want to see resumes, facilities, budget and budget justification. These are 2 different things. So a budget is your breakdown, your actual finances. Budget justification is explaining, this is why we've allocated X amount of money towards developing this product. So you get to explain yourself of why you have allocated as much money as you have. So budget justification. And then other documents unique to each agency. So make sure you read through the solicitation for each one because they can all have little things that are different about them. Why do proposals get rejected? So there are 2 phases of review in a proposal review. And one is your administrative review and the other is the technical review. So some people can get not funded because they didn't pass the administrative review. And the administrative review is all of the basic stuff. Do you qualify? Are you an eligible business? Did you include all the components we asked for? Really, it's a lot of the administrative stuff. But some people, they missed something. They didn't have their DUNS number, for example, and they don't get funded. The other part is if you can get to the second phase of review is the technical review. So this is where they look at your commercial plan. They look at your money and how much money you are requesting, what you think you can develop in the short time frame. And they're going to see, is this feasible? Can this actually be done? And that's your phase 2 review. So sometimes you don't line up your interests with the agency and you don't get funded. And sometimes you are funded, but they run out of money. You're called fundable, but you didn't actually get the money because they ran out, or someone else just squeezed in right before you. In those cases, just reapply. And I, in fact, reapply for all cases because they will give you great detailed feedback for why you didn't get it. So resubmission rates tend to be a higher percentage of acceptance.
Cara, do you happen to know for Nevada whether our grant applications fail more on administrative or technical review?
So in general, I don't have Nevada's numbers, but in general, the administrative review is about 25%. And it's actually, and then I think non-fundable is about 20%. But it's mostly people who fail the technical review. Yeah. So award rate. So award rate for phase 1 is 15% across all agencies. For phase 2, it's about 40 to 50%. We don't have consistent data for resubmissions, but they tend to look better. They tend to be higher, so you have a higher chance if you resubmit. And that's because, again, these program managers, everybody, they want you to get the money. So they will sit down with you. They will schedule these meetings with every single person that they said no to. And they'll tell you exactly why they said no to you. So you can redo your application and you can reapply. So you'll have a better rate of success definitely on your second time. Because I know this 15% is not that exciting or inspiring, but if you can get feedback, then that would be valuable for your second application. And so we're here to help. So go to SBIR.gov's tutorials page. This is going to cover everything I've talked about today, but in great detail. And you can look at any part of this if you want to. So, I want to know more about the intellectual property, for example. There's a whole intellectual property section in the tutorials page. So take a look at that. Other program basics, just agency overviews. There's a lot of great stuff. And they have quizzes and they have PDFs of information that you could use. So this is the one main link I would say. If you don't click on any of my links today, click on this one. This is amazing. It just helps you really determine what more information can I find? Because there's so much. I've been doing this and there's still so much to discover and so much to know. So this is a great, I say, home base for learning. And then this is the website that will show you where all of your local resources are. So again, Sage is on here for Nevada. And so if you want to work with another state, or if you're a business partner and they want to do this through a different state, this is how you can find resources to specifically help you, even if they're in another location. When our solicitations released, this is what I have done is, go through this and subscribe to everything. They're constantly sending emails. I don't know what's up with the Army, but I get like 30 emails a week from them. Like, they have a lot. And they seem to be the most. I mean, maybe it's the season, I'm not sure. But Army STTR is like half of my inbox right now. So, be warned. But definitely click through this. And then also on these websites, you'll see the contact information for the agency program managers. So, you can reach out to them directly, and you can say, hey, I want to apply for this, if you have any advice or feedback. They're all very friendly, very open. They're all really willing to help and want to talk to you. So click through this. Disagree?
No, we got shut out. I mean, yeah, because we're already working with Sage, right? So
Oh,
we got a recommendation for fundable with NIST,
okay.
but we didn't get funded. But with NSF,
They wouldn't talk to you?
no, and in fact, because we're working with API.
APO.
Yeah, with Michael and Arun. And Arun reached out, I reached out, and the program manager's like, talk to the hand. He just did not respond at all, not an email, not by.
Oh, well, that's
But
unfortunate.
I already have a research project. NIST is collaborating with me on a project that I got funding from elsewhere. So NIST is cool, I have good contacts there, but NSF, it was just talk to the hand.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he just was in a bad mood or something.
Yeah, well, it's possible this time of year is like, because they do want to talk to you, but it's possible this time of year is like, they're getting so many emails because they got rejected so many
Well,
times.
this is we submitted last round. So I think, because we're just about to resubmit, so I think I'll reach out to him again and see if he has any
Yeah.
input for
Well,
the
let's talk afterwards and see if
Yeah.
I can help you reach out to these guys.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's everything. And again, check out SBIR.gov's website. Everything here is through Sage. We're doing a full program revamp of Sage. So the Sage of the past is, we're redoing everything. We're redoing our website. We have all of this stuff that's in my slides, but so much more that's not in my slides. We're putting up on our website. We're creating a full resource library for people that qualify. We're getting them seats into this program called Turbo SBIR that will help you with your application. If any of you guys have ever used TurboTax, it's like that, but for grants, it's amazing. So for some people that we're working with, we're paying for them to get seats in that program too. So, our program is really expanded, and we really just want to help you guys get these grants to at least know that you apply, you qualify, because I think Nevada is like number 46 out of 50 for the number of SBIRs and STTRs we get. So we can do this. I think part of it is we didn't know that all these resources existed, and grants are traditionally an intimidating thing. So our goal is to make this as easy as possible so we can increase our numbers for Nevada and get more of those federal dollars here so that we can expand all of these programs and eventually use that to boost our economy. So thank you guys. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
How do you distinguish between like the solar windows? To me, that's a product and not a technology. So how do you distinguish between product and tech?
It's where it starts, right? Like, I mean, I talked to a guy a few years ago, he was a researcher, and he's like, I have a photon laser or a phonon laser, uses sound particles to see through walls. I was like, oh, that's fascinating. That's really cool. And I go to his lab and it's like, it takes up this whole room. It looks like a table. It's not an actual like laser thing. It's like, it's something that is something he proved in a lab that I theoretically could do this, but it's really not a product. It's something that you think you can do it. I just need to prove the technology. I need to develop the thing. So, I mean, this didn't start out as solar windows. This likely started out as something on a workbench. They're like, well, if we could just put this into glass, if we could just make it opaque enough, that sort of thing. So we see it now as a product. You see this as something that you can now approach an investor for. But in the beginning, it's really just research, basic research that it has potential. Yeah. Any other questions?
Along those lines, I think what's hard for me is what qualifies as technology here, because, you know, I have ideas for products that would entail some research to get there, but I guess maybe it's looking at each of the agencies and what their goals are and what qualifies, but
What is it, technology? Yeah, well, sometimes people will say technology is something you have a pact on. I don't know if that's entirely true, but it's, you know, I guess it does depend on the agency, but it's also kind of like, you know, I have created something. It's not just an idea, there's substance to it, right? I have created something that if only it had more money, more time, more everything to turn this into a product, I think it could be something. So it's got to be somewhere between proof of concept and idea.
Isn't they usually look to see if you have intellectual property?
Intellectual property is a check mark. They're like, yeah, that's great, but it's not necessarily required.
Right, like, you know, going back to what's different between, you know, technology and a product. If you have a product, you don't necessarily have IP. But I think with SBIR, it's much more favorable if you have IP.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes things easier to explain, like, you know, because
I have to check that innovation box.
Yeah.
If you have IP, it's like, okay, check.
Yeah, well, so intellectual property is a lot like physical property, right? If I have physical property, it's like I own this chunk of land or I own this house and this is the perimeter. Intellectual property is that on the innovative landscape. So if you can specifically define, I own this. This is something that I made that's uniquely mine. That is one other way that you can define it on the innovative landscape. And you can say, yeah, my company has pioneered this. We've developed it. We, you know, we are the only ones who've ever done it this way. That's another way to do it too. It's all about the story you tell too. Anybody else? No? Oh, yes.
Nobody else. I have a really specific question, which is, you know, how can I get some direct hands-on experience with SBIR before I'm ready to kind of commit to our own SBIR? So just to give you a little context, I work for a medical device company. We're thinking about getting kind of submitting an SBIR with our technology. But, you know, after reading or going through all of the tutorials you showed on their website, I'm still feeling a little at loss, and that I'm the one who will be leading the project. And I have experience with technical writing, scientific research, and grant writing. Still, I think the nuances of it, kind of going back to your point, which is, you know, 20% of the applications fell on the administrative level. So I feel like, you know, it would be great for me to get some hands-on experience. Either by, you know, if it's possible to like volunteer through your program and just to help people along the way in some aspects and also learn and get some experience, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you know, wanting to dip your toe in before you actually do it, especially with something like this. Well, so there are different ways you can do this. So you can always partner. Again, there's, if you look at the way that the budget's broken down, you can be somebody else's subcontract. So you can find somebody that has received these awards. We've got a couple of SBIR, STTR powerhouses in Nevada. They're both defense companies though. The third one is a medical device company, which is DX Discovery. So, you know, you can always partner with one of them and they would be the prime. And then you can see who could be a subcontract on them, do some work for them. The other thing too is if you want to do an STTR, so, you know, you can use your technology, but then you can get the university, for example, to like use to complement what they're doing. And so there's a lot of grant experience with those faculty there. So that's one way to do it. There are not, unfortunately, a lot of volunteer opportunities through our group, but I mean, I would recommend that. What we're trying to do in the next year is we're going to be doing a full event series. And one of those events is we're going to put together a panel of people who are successful awardees. And I think that if you can hear success stories and hear how people did it and ask them questions, I think that would be really valuable for people. So that's something that we're planning on putting together. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I would suggest that you find approved applications from the company that she mentioned, which is the medical device company, because that'll give you the flow of the way the grant is written. Technical stuff like failing 25% on administrative stuff, that means you're just not paying attention. You're just not checking off those boxes. But since more of them fail on the technical aspect, I know that when we've done grant writing, if we copy somebody's paper, you know, so find a device that's close to what you're thinking about and model it after that, you have a higher chance of success.
Got it, thank you. Actually, I know DS Discovery pretty closely. I work next door to them.
Okay.
Their R&D director who just won, I think, a phase 2 award of SBIR. So I actually spoke to her, and she's like, there's lots of nuances in it. You just got to do it for the first time. And she was citing her mentor who led her through her, their first and second application. So it's really, the direct experience is so invaluable, and it's hard to get unless really commit to it.
Yeah, it's true. And you just reminded me too, is there's a bunch of proposals that are online. There's a whole resource. It's all stuff we're going to put on the Sage website. But there's a library of proposals that have been awarded in the past that you can use as an example. For me, whenever I start writing my own first grant, it always helps to see how did somebody else do it. Or just using those as examples. So we'll be publishing all of that stuff in the next few months. So it'll all be available for people.
Great, thank you.
But the moral of the story is submit early, submit often.
Yes.
It's like, don't follow somebody else's, yes, follow what they've done successfully, but get in there and participate, apply.
And do your databases first. That's main. So many people, it's such a dumb thing to not get accepted for, because you're like, oh, I did everything right, except I didn't give myself enough time to get my databases done. So that's super important.
And by databases, you mean the required guns,
SAM,
grants.gov, whatever is required.
It's a frustrating thing to get denied on.
They can be time consuming. DUNS isn't, but SAM is.
And the website's down like every 5 minutes.
And then you don't know where to log in. It's like, well, which login do you want today? Check the wins.
It's government websites. Unfortunately, SBIR.gov is pretty good. I haven't had any complaints.
So, we submitted to NIST, and I feel that the program that we submitted in support of maybe not be the sexiest program at NIST.
Okay.
Do you find that the submissions, you kind of have to read the tea leaves on which of the programs is the sexiest today, or? Because I just felt that it was a little subject to internal rankings based on their favorite programs, not necessarily on the quality of my submission.
Well, it's possible, but it's really hard to know without talking to your program manager. So we'll get that meeting set up. Figure that out. Yeah. Cool. Anybody else?
Other questions? Thank you, Cara. That was wonderful.
Thank you all so much for your time. My contact information on the side. Feel free to reach out.
That was so informative, and there's so much information here. You guys can really dig in. Thank you all for coming. Our next Lunch and Learn will be October 13th, and it will feature Jose Padilla, who is an IP attorney. He's going to be talking about Series Seed term sheets. So if you need to learn about those, please come back. Thank you all for coming.